Welcome guys, and even though that intro was ridiculous, let's talk about more ridiculous things like the state of Shadowlands, especially 9.05. We'll be talking, or at least this video is going to have heavy emphasis on 9.1 gearing systems, including PvP, raids, and Mythic Plus, and which avenue is going to give you the best item levels. And we're going to talk about that because gearing in an MMO game is very, very important. But first of all, I want to have an honest discussion about the state of Shadowlands 9.05, and this is gonna be important to a lot of people who watch the content, a lot of people who are playing World of Warcraft. It has been over 6 months since Shadowlands has launched, and there hasn't been a major patch even announced to this day. As I'm making this video right now, I did expect 9.1 to be announced. So I think it's going to be happening in the next couple of days, or maybe possibly next week. I think Shadowlands 9.1 is going to be released. Our educated guess would be maybe the start of the first week of July. And based on the lack of testing has been done on 9.1 in terms of Sanctum of Domination. There is no new raid testing announced. The fact that Blizzard is announcing or posting these blue posts about, oh hey, this is how you can get flying in 9.1. This is a clear indication that 9.1 is soon. It's going to happen very, very soon. So this kind of leads to an honest question. Are you enjoying Shadowlands 9.05? Are you finding things to do? Now, you know I've been playing the game since the very start, or at least Shadowlands, you know, I play every day, multiple hours, so eventually I will run out of things to do. That goes without saying. Anyone who puts in a lot of time, they probably will feel a little bit burnt out or a little bit bored. This patch is extremely long. I've been doing Prideful for a long time. I've been doing Castle. I don't even want to talk about Castellanaci. I'm just so sick of redoing Castellanaci. To me, Shadowlands has been dead for a couple of months now, in terms of enjoyment and in terms of fun. Now, for people who are coming into the game for the first time, or they're asking me, is it time to come back? I honestly would say just wait until 9.1. What's the point of playing right now when the gear that you get at this given point is going to be replaced when 9.1 hits within a couple of days? Because you have to remember, there's like a gear reset every single big patch. You get all of a sudden bigger item levels. There is multiple catch-up systems in 9.1 to do with, oh hey, you're a returning player, we don't want you to feel behind, so you're gonna have a catch-up system in things like Torghast in terms of how you're generating currencies there and things like that. So you don't actually have to be playing the game right now to get an upper hand when 9.1 launches. So this has led me to be really bored, honestly, after getting an insanely high item levels on my characters. Like my Resto Shaman is 230 item level, my other alts are like 225. There is not a whole lot of things to do, and again, this is partly because Blizzard has been really slow with development. I don't even blame the devs. I think they're, how do I say it? I don't think Blizzard has a huge development team. I've read multiple articles that Blizzard is going to increase the amount of developers that are going to be working on World of Warcraft. But I generally think the development team for World of Warcraft is relatively small. I generally feel that the working conditions, or with the stuff that's happening around the world right now, it is a little bit harder. So I do have to say that this delay, to some extent, Blizzard has tried to justify it. It's been so kind of boring that I even started playing TBC. Like, this is the kind of levels of, I don't think I ever remember a period where I was this bored. Maybe the time when Blizzard tried to release a movie and it was like a year or something of like no content, but that was end of the expansion. This is start of the expansion. In my honest opinion, Shadowlands launch was one of the best launches for an expansion I had. It had a lot of issues, but overall I think it was really interesting. The main issue with Shadowlands was gearing. 9.05 PvP and PvE lines were blurred. All of a sudden, PvE players would do PvP because it was less random at acquiring items. And it wasn't great when PvE players would make groups to farm rated BGs, even though they hated that type of content. And again, this was my biggest gripe about Shadowlands gearing, and this is why we're going to talk about gearing in 9.1. But before we're going to do that, how do you feel about this break? How do you feel about this lack of content? Are you playing World of Warcraft right now? Are you still hyped for 9.1, or is this kind of over? It's been too long. And I really don't want to come across as too harsh. I understand developing a game at home can be difficult. I really don't want Blizzard to lose out on such a huge win, in my opinion. Shadowlands was really fun and a good start of an expansion. You have to remember that expansions like Legion, who are renowned as one of the best expansions, started off pretty bad as well. So Shadowlands had a good launch, but it just dipped with the lack of content. So how do you feel about that? But let's talk about gearing in 9.1. And is it worth to come back? So gearing in 9.1 is looking a lot different than it was in 9.05. This is why I mentioned gearing at the start of the video, because I felt it was the biggest downfall of Shadowlands. I didn't like how PvP players had to PvE, or actually didn't have to do as much, because PvP gearing was the best it's ever been in 9.05. But because it was so good, PvE players were almost forced to do PvP, especially if you're a tank looking for that versatility gear. So what's happening in 9.1? You're still gonna have 3 different avenues of gearing: Mythic Plus, Raids, and PvP. But the gear that you acquire in 2 of those is going to be substantially better in that content. So if you do PvP, for example, and you acquire gear that's gonna be from PvP, that item level is gonna be increased if you do PvP activities. So Wowhead has a really nice article, and they have this kind of like item level comparison using 9.05 values, because if you use item levels from the new, patch, people won't understand if that's high or not. But basically what it means, if you're a duelist, you get that juicy 2 to 6 item level. If you use that gear in PvP, you're gonna get +7 item levels. If you use that gear in PvE, you're gonna lose -6 item levels. So this directly encourages PvP players to just PvP. But you can still venture out in Mythic Plus, and again, you can still do well, but your gear is going to be not as good. Now, a lot of people blew up about this kind of implementation, and they were really angry, and I never understood that, because this is, to some extent, resilience gear. Resilience gear was added to items, and it made them better in PvP, but it made them worse in PvE because it wasn't as impactful stat. So this is Blizzard's way of saying, hey, if you really want to do PvP, go ahead and do it. But if you're a PvE player, you're not as inclined into getting into that scene. The most baffling thing that I read online about this is that people were complaining about, oh hey, my rated BG queues are going to be longer because my PvE friends don't want to play with me anymore. And that is just bonkers. It's ridiculous. I've read this comment and I'm like, why would you be sad about the fact that Blizzard was forcing your friends to play content they didn't want? Make the content better instead of forcing people to play. That's my opinion about this. So if you don't want to do it, you shouldn't do it. But I know how players are at this day of age. People enjoy min-maxing. If they feel there's gonna be an upgrade, an easier upgrade, in content they don't fully enjoy, they're still probably gonna do it as long as they don't absolutely hate that activity. So I don't actually hate this implementation. I think it is a decent approach at creating different boundaries between different activities. And you also see the same thing happening in raids with things like domination gear. If you played PTO, you'll notice you can get, like, from Sanctum of Domination, you get these items that have sockets on them. And then you have these Shards of Domination, which are like gems with these different abilities. And then if you equip 3 Shards of Dominations of the same type, you will complete a set bonus. And that set bonus is going to be active in raids, but it should not be active in other things. So all of a sudden, it's the same kind of concept. You get gear in raids, that gear is going to be better in raid content. You're more inclined to do that content that you enjoy. If you get PvP gear, that PvP gear is going to be better in PvP. Now the thing that is left out in this equation is Mythic Plus. There is no specific set bonuses, there is no item level scaling, there's nothing for Mythic Plus. There's just repeatable content, and Blizzard has time and time again said that repeatable content, they're scared about repeatable content giving you the best item level, and the item level is going to be the same or similar to what it was in 9.05. I think another example of how Blizzard kinda neglects the Mythic Plus community is the fact that the Season 2 achievement mount is going to be, and yes, this is 100% confirmed, a basically recolored version of Season 1 mount. We've seen things like Valor being introduced, which again was very nice addition, but it really wasn't that great if you really think about it. Valor was basically something to fill out certain items and upgrade them. Again, the item level wasn't all that high, it was maybe great for alts. But if you've been playing Shadowlands from the very start and you've been doing your weekly chests, you're more than likely already pretty good geared, and a 220 item level piece that you can upgrade is not going to be all that amazing. Again, alts are the exception to this. So Mythic Plus, just like Valor, is viewed as a filler system. It is viewed as a system that's going to help you out to fill in the missing pieces in your gear. In terms of item level and the Valor, you cannot go beyond what you already had. You cannot meet the same item levels that Raid provides you, or grinding PvP. But Mythic Plus gives you repeatable content, which in Blizzard eyes is all that you need. So I don't really like this because I expected Blizzard to introduce some meaningful upgrades if you follow that Mythic Plus path, maybe similar to what Raid gives you. Because you have to remember, if you're pushing really high Mythic Plus content, that is for a lot of people considered to be more skillful than certain other avenues. Like, Mythic Plus is no joke in terms of skill requirements. But instead, Blizzard has decided to add a plus 20 achievement for each dungeon, which will give you a, wait for it, a dungeon teleport. So, so I guess it's all worth it. I mean, no memes, no memeing aside, I still think these kind of rewards are pretty cool. Do I think it's gonna incite a certain person who doesn't really enjoy Mythic Plus or is not pushing Mythic Plus beyond 15s to start doing plus 20s? I don't think so. I think the people who are already trying to do plus 20s are gonna enjoy this little reward, but it's not big enough to push people. To push, literally. And I feel that's really sad. So I still think the loser of gearing in 9.1 is still gonna be Mythic Plus, but hey, it is repeatable and you can get some dungeon teleports. And Blizzard is introducing the Rated.io app into the game itself. So maybe there'll be more inclination in terms of trying to push Mythic Plus because you're gonna have a score that's official. And maybe that's gonna be big enough for people to try and get higher, you know, higher numbers and things like that. Of course, you also have to remember that Mythic Plus gives you one of the easiest ways or one of the best ways to get that highest item level gear, and that is getting your plus 14 done for the week and kind of hoping you're gonna get something nice from the weekly chest. And that is probably the biggest advantage of doing Mythic Plus at this given point, and it's not looking like that's gonna change in 9.1. I am excited about the new raiding gear. I am excited about the fact that I might not have to do PvP if I'm trying to progress PvE. And that sounds really cool, and I hope it's the same for my PvP friends who don't want to do PvE. And I think that's a cool incentive. Now, some people might say, but hey, what if I want to do all content? In my opinion, the answer to this is that you cannot please everybody. And if you want to be a person who's doing every single content, you're gonna have to put in the time and get that gear. I don't think Blizzard in this situation can please every single person. I think I'll rather have few people upset about this rather than players who really don't enjoy certain aspects of the game being forced to do those aspects of the game. But guys, this is a discussion video, really let me know. So is 9.1 going to save Shadowlands? Honestly, from my raid testing, I really enjoyed Sanctum of Domination. I thought it was really cool. Every single boss felt pretty meaningful. I know there's possibly a couple exceptions to the rule, but when was the last time that the raid team has really let down the player base, with the exception of SLG? Oh, one of the worst bosses ever made. But from testing, Sanctum of Domination felt really, really nice. The new Mythic Plus affix Tormented is something that can be built upon and made even more fun. So I think that's pretty cool. And outside of that, I mean, you still have things like Courtia, new areas, you have Torghast, like a speedrunning kind of thing happening now. And I do think that 9.1 is going to be a relatively big patch. I am disappointed about the new Mega Dungeon because the new Mega Dungeon is going to have a hard mode. It's not going to be a Mythic Plus. So it's probably going to be something that you do once, then forget about it. And then you're going to have to wait like 5 more months until it's going to be split up into 2 Mythic Plus and you can run that and things like that. So guys, let me know how you feel about the new changes happening in 9.1, the new raid, Sanctum of Domination, the new Mythic Plus affix, the new Mega Dungeon again. You might only run it once, but it's going to be a hell of a run. So how does 9.1 look for you? And how do you feel about this huge break or lack of content? Are you still playing Shadowlands? Maybe you stopped. Maybe you're not playing World of Warcraft. Is 9.1 going to be juicy enough for you to come back? That's what I kind of really want to know. Let me know, guys, and if you enjoy the content, please like and subscribe. It lets me to continue with these or doing these videos, and I'll see you in my next video.